everyone, it's me, Canadensis, and today I'm going to be sharing information that I gained from a really exciting opportunity that I had a few weeks ago. The format of this video will be a little bit different from my normal videos because I need to be very careful of what I say, and I apologize for that, thus I am reading off of a script. Enjoy this beautiful sizzle reel of Jakks Pacific Winx Club dolls and images related to them. My source for this information is extremely private and does not wish to be known, thus I cannot share with you any information on this person. As such, I understand completely if you don't wish to take me at my word. All of this information legally must be recorded as alleged. I know that my source is extremely reliable through my own research and through the prototypes that I received through the same source in another video. Without further ado, let's get started. The first part of this video will be discussing the doll prototypes. Where do they go? How are they made? What happens to them? A large takeaway is that they are never made to last. Prototypes are not meant to go into collectors' hands or be kept at all. They are meant to show to investors, property owners, company leads, in order to get the toy further into development. There are several prototype stages, the first being the handmade prototypes, in which they are hand-sewn, hand-painted, hand-built, and hand-molded generally, and the rest usually being factory samples, of which there are usually around 5 per phase. Sometimes these are slightly different than one another so that the designers have choices for which they wish to go through with. An interesting tidbit that I learned is that the first prototypes for dolls usually cost $2,000 to $5,000 each, with the first dolls for each line being substantially more expensive than the later releases, because they need to create all new molds for every piece of the doll. The reasoning for this is obvious, but this genuinely shocked me to learn. First release prototypes for doll lines are usually abysmal compared to later ones. As well. The reason that early samples don't last is because, unfortunately, they are generally destroyed. They're not supposed to make it to the secondhand market, although some companies are more lenient than others with this, so toys will get into the designer's hands, collector's hands, and children's hands. I will not discuss which companies I believe this for, or the person that I spoke to believes that this is the case for. Usually, though, prototypes, even when they make it to market, deteriorate on their own as they are painted using cheap paints or created with materials that just don't last. They don't need to last, and companies don't think of collectors when they create prototypes. Why would they? Prototypes are normally destroyed and not archived. Some will make it to the secondhand market through dumpster diving product poachers, though. That was something interesting that I learned. The last thing I want to add to this section is that packaging prototypes are put through vigorous product testing. I was told that the reason that the Believix dolls by Jakks Pacific had such bad box hair is because the way that it needed to be secured into the package was extremely specific to pass product testing to keep the hair intact. By the way that they do this is that they basically put it into a machine that shakes it thousands of times to make sure that it can make it through the shipping process. I thought that was interesting. They corrected the problem with the box hair later, though. The hair was never bad quality, it was just a packaging issue. And for the Winx dolls specifically, Igenio Straffi and the people involved with Rainbow in Italy directly approved the Jakks Pacific prototypes, often in person. I was told that Igenio absolutely loved the Winx dolls, and despite them making Jakks Pacific making Winx specifically to sell to American audiences, Rainbow requested the rights to use the Jakks Pacific molds, packaging designs, appearance, and more in the European Witty Toys doll line, which they were told that they could, and thus we got new Witty Toys dolls. Next, I want to talk about what happened to Jakks Pacific. A big lingering question to this day is, why did Jakks stop making Winx Club dolls? I think fans were so blindsided by Jakks stopping production because of all the new dolls that we saw advertised that never came to fruition. I was told that it is actually much cheaper and easier for the company to advertise more product than they release. Why not print an ad for dolls that you're planning to release instead of not doing it at all? Companies have no obligation to actually go through with product releases after advertising, and it's not a huge loss either. Usually this happens with the higher-ups, though. The designers would release every single doll that they designed if they could, I was told. I could not get the exact reason that Tecna and Musa Harmonics were canceled due to legal reasons. I don't believe my source could tell me, but I was told that they never produced any of those dolls. So whichever one of you was spreading that rumor that you called Jakks Pacific and they told you that they burned them all is a straight-up liar. My source genuinely laughed and said that was the most ridiculous thing they'd ever heard. They told me that somebody saying that they called the company is the most audacious claim, remarking, "What did the receptionist know and tell you?" I just thought that was funny. Another very interesting tidbit that changed the way I think about doll advertising was a point made about Toy Fair. I was told that Toy Fair is very similar to cake sampling for a wedding. Vendors slash the market will not buy every product, they just pick out the ones that are most interesting and attractive to them. Something being shown at Toy Fair really doesn't mean much of anything about it being actually released. Now to actually address the question at hand, Nick owned 30%, give or take, of Rainbow at the time that Jakks made Winx Club dolls. Nick originally intended to heavily push Winx, which we know, and Jakks was in partnership with Nick. It was in Jakks Pacific's best interest to release as many dolls as they possibly could, which they fully intended to do, as we can see by the prototypes. More money equals a more happy company. Nickelodeon was the issue here. They dropped Winx hardcore. They stopped promoting it and pushed it into a ridiculous time slot, which my source had noticed and was very frustrated by. Jakks did nothing wrong. Nickelodeon was the reason we stopped seeing Jakks dolls in stores, not the other way around. Although this was very sad for collectors and fans alike, the collectors are the ones that are often upset, cause outcry, insult the company, and uproar about how unfair this is and act entitled to the unreleased dolls. Unfortunately, collectors make absolutely no money for the company. I was told that probably around 3 to 5% of girls' product, and I'm saying girls' product as an industry term, I am not making a bold claim that dolls are only for girls, and I hope you realize that. I am saying that the industry refers to dolls as girls' product, and that's why I'm doing so here. Anyways, 3 to 5% of girls' product revenue comes from collectors. This is not reason enough to release products that may not be picked up by children, but would be picked up by collectors. I want to give an aside of information that I received from the wonderful Scott Toy Guru Nightlick on his YouTube channel, Spectre Creative, which focuses on action figure collecting. This information is completely unrelated to Winx, and this man is not my source. I shouldn't have to make that clear, but I need to. He worked on the Maddie Collector action figure lines like Masters of the Universe Classics, and the way that collectors lines such as this are able to happen is through online releases in specific markets. Retailers overall do not want collector product. Collector product almost always fails and clearances out, and retailers do not want to take collector product. There are minimum order quantities that collector products could never dream of meeting. Now let's get back to information from my interview. A large part of the cost for dolls, Winx especially, is surprisingly the packaging. Retailers are extremely picky and specific about the packaging and demand that it be a certain way. Price of production also rises substantially yearly. This is why quality dips. Most companies adapt and overcome this, however, so it should not be noticeable by the consumer unless you look at something like a 10-year difference between dolls. I'm looking at you, Mattel. Lastly, I want to talk about other Winx-related stuff from my interview that doesn't necessarily fit into the more official sections that I stated previously. Number one is that the shoes were never meant to be show accurate. This was a huge criticism at the time of the Jakks Pacific dolls release. The shoes were meant to be trendy, current, and fashionable with more of a fairy twist. This was completely intentional, and all shoe molds used for Winx were new and fresh for the brand. It was not laziness, it was completely intentional, and the designers were very proud of it. Any outfit changes to the dolls as well were either prototype looks for the series, or they were done for the same reason, to make them fashionable, current, and trendy. Number two is Winx was a favorite of a lot of the designers that worked on Winx, and they absolutely loved working on it. Dark Sirenix was the absolute favorite of multiple designers, so I've heard. The reason that Dark Sirenix was changed to have no tentacles and softer facial expressions was because of Toys R Us demanding it. The designers were devastated about this, and the butterfly wings that the dolls ultimately came with were a last-second sketch that had to be done in, I think, like a night, from what I was told. And though they were approved by Toys R Us and put into production immediately, that's why they're kind of strange. Toys R Us required that they be fairies, so they had to have the butterfly wings in order to make it to market, unfortunately. Number three is that boy dolls in general, Sky from this doll line is specifically who we're referring to, are designed to have very soft and feminine features, and even then they never really sell well. They are always produced in lower quantities and lower quality because they tend to lose the company money if not. The exception to this is when they come in multi-packs, and again, this is not to please collectors, as 95% or more of the doll market is made up of children. And I want to make this clear because people got offended last time I said this. This is not to say that adults can't love and appreciate dolls. I am 21 years old, and I am an adult that loves and appreciates dolls. I am not insulting myself. Number four is that one of the leads for Jakks' rendition of Winx, not the one that I talked to, not that I spoke to any of the leads, but the person that I talked to is not this person. One of the leads for Jakks' rendition of Winx was actually the lead on Mattel's Winx dolls. I thought that was really cool. They're different from the Mattel dolls because of trend marketing to match with the audience at the time of production, but the same person was extremely involved in both of their creations. So I hope this quells the Mattel superfans' cruelty towards the Jakks dolls. Number 5. Some inspirations for Winx are drag fashion, Disney, and Sailor Moon. At least that's what the person I spoke to told me. They were extremely frustrated, by the way, with the way that fans of many franchises will attack and belittle other franchises based on assumed inspiration. Inspiration will always exist and is healthy and good for art. It is not in any way a bad thing. A quote used in the interview was, "You're either the first to do it or the best." And I really appreciated that mentality. Number 6. The show was catered around the dolls, especially in the later seasons. In a lot of cases, the show was changed or designs were added to the show after dolls were designed. I could not gather any information, probably due to legality concerns, on if and when this happened with Winx and Jakks Pacific, though my Masquerade prototype doll was apparently made with this idea in mind, which is why she never shows up in the show. Finally, number 7, sorry, this is not the last point. Number 7, Eugenio was apparently an absolute treat to work with, and he absolutely loves dolls, and especially loved the Jakks dolls, and I just thought that was so cool, so I wanted to say it again. My last point is that the reason that budget dolls look different in the face than deluxe dolls is because budget dolls are done using face stamping, while deluxe dolls are made using airbrushes and stencils. This is a quality difference that is reflected in the price. It takes much more labor to airbrush each individual feature using stencils than to just stamp it on and go. And that's all I have for y'all today. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope this information I've gathered was interesting and laid a lot of rumors to rest. I'm really glad I was able to talk to this absolutely incredible person, and it was a complete dream come true. If they ever do find this video, I want to again thank them so incredibly much for the opportunity to speak with them about dolls, their life involving the dolls, and the dolls that I and so many other people loved so much. I was so grateful to actually get to express my gratitude via several phone calls, and it was truly one of the greatest honors of my entire life. Please do not try to seek this person out. Please respect the privacy of people in this industry. Questions unanswered in this video were not answered for legal reasons, and when fans decide to seek out and harass industry professionals, not only does it make us all look bad, but in the future it will make us all unable to have calm, polite, and respectful conversations with these incredible people. Thank you all so much again for your time. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you all about this. I've dumped a lot of really exciting things in this video, so I'm sure you'll have a lot to talk about. Thank you all so much for watching, for real this time. Bye!